Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something that's definitely stirred up a lot of conversation.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Former President Trump posting that AI-generated meme, the one showing him dressed as the Pope.
That's the one.
We want to understand what happened, the reaction, and, what it all might mean. We've looked at reports from Mother Jones, the New York Times, the Guardian, Washington Post, the Irish Times. Quite a few angles.
Okay, so let's set the scene. This all happened very recently. Pope Francis died on Easter Monday, April 21st.
Right.
And the Papal Conclave, where they elect the new pope, that's set to start Wednesday, May 7th. So really close timing.
And the meme itself, it was posted when?
On Friday.
Yeah.
Trump put it up on Truth Social.
Yeah.
And the image itself is, well, it's him.
Yeah.
The full pope outfit. White cassock, gold cross, the mitre hat, pointed finger, the whole thing. AI generated, clearly.
But it didn't just stay on Truth Social, did it? That seems important.
No, exactly. The official White House X account,
Wow.
formerly Twitter and their Instagram, they reposted the same image.
Wow, okay. So official White House channels amplifying this image of Trump as Pope.
Yep. Which definitely raises the stakes, doesn't it? Especially given the timing we just mentioned.
Yeah, the timing feels crucial. The Catholic Church is mourning Pope Francis, preparing for this really significant conclave process.
It's a deeply solemn period, especially in places like Italy. The papacy is just huge. It's respected way beyond just the religious aspect.
So with that backdrop, how did people react? I mean, I can't imagine everyone thought it was appropriate.
Oh, not at all. The reaction was pretty swift and quite strong from some quarters. The New York State Catholic Conference, they put out a statement on X.
What did they say?
Very direct. They said, "There is nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President." And they specifically mentioned the timing, Pope Francis's death, the conclave. Their bottom line was, do not mock us.
Do not mock us. That's powerful. Was it just them?
No. Dennis Post, he's the executive director for that conference, he told the New York Times pretty much the same thing. Said, ridiculing the papacy is never okay. And interestingly, he brought up the history of American anti-Catholicism, often targeting the Pope.
Huh. Historical context there, too.
And Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, he was actually in Rome. Someone asked him about it. His response was just that the Post wasn't good.
Quite the understatement from a cardinal, I'd imagine.
Tells you a lot, right?
Yeah.
Then you had Michael Steele, former RNC chair. He's Catholic.
You're great. I remember that.
He went on X and basically said it showed Trump was unserious and incapable. Even compared him to a 10-year-old child. Pretty harsh.
Wow. And Anthony Scaramucci, another former Trump insider, also Catholic.
Yeah, Scaramucci called it trolling. Said it was an attempt to trigger Catholics. He used words like arrogance, general stupidity, disgrace. He even added later, the dope of dopes, not a pope.
Okay, so really strong condemnation from several prominent Catholic figures, some with past links to Trump. What about internationally? You mentioned Italy.
Yes. Italian media, like La Repubblica, they use terms like pathological megalomania, called it poor taste, especially during the mourning period.
Megalomania. Okay.
And the former Italian Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi, called it shameful. Offensive to believers, insulting to institutions. Spanish news outlets apparently felt similarly, focusing on the lack of respect.
It sounds like the dominant initial reaction, especially from Catholic circles and internationally, was pretty negative. Offended, even.
Overwhelmingly, yes. But there were defenses, or at least different takes.
Like what? Who defended it?
Well, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, she put out a statement saying Trump has been a staunch champion for Catholics and religious liberty. Sort of a standard defense line.
Right, focusing on his broader record, supposedly.
Then you had Senator Lindsey Graham, a big Trump ally. He actually joked about it on X, suggested Pope Trump could be a dark horse candidate for the papacy, said it had many upsides. He even referenced Trump MMX 88.
So Graham leaned into it as a joke, kind of doubling down.
Seems like it. And Juanita Broderick, she shared an AI video of Trump as Pope, calling it an epic troll that was upsetting liberals.
Okay, so framing it as political trolling.
Exactly. And Jack Posobiec, the far-right influencer, he's Catholic, apparently just attended a Catholic prayer event at Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
He defended it on X too, said something like, I'm Catholic. We've all been making jokes about the upcoming Pope selection all week. It's called a sense of humor.
Interesting. So the argument there is that it's just lighthearted banter within the community.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
Clearly, that view wasn't shared by, say, the New York State Catholic Conference or Cardinal Dolan.
No, definitely not. What about Vice President J.D. Vance? He's Catholic, met with Pope Francis not long before he died. Did he weigh in?
He did, when asked. He said he's Fine with people telling jokes and not fine with people starting stupid wars, which is maybe a bit ambiguous. He also apparently joked before about Marco Rubio becoming pope, so maybe he leans towards the "it's just a joke" camp.
Hmm. It's also true that Trump himself joked about wanting to be pope just days before this meme, right?
Yeah, that's another piece of context.
Hmm.
He told reporters, "I'd like to be pope. That would be my #1 choice." Though the reports say he seemed to be joking, and he did say Cardinal Dolan was very good.
Still, saying it yourself and then posting that image, it adds a layer.
It does. And the sources make a point of noting Trump isn't Catholic himself, raised Presbyterian, now says he's non-denominational.
And they bring up other things too, don't they? Actions may be seen as contrary to Catholic teaching.
Yes, things like his support for the death penalty,
Yeah.
multiple marriages, the finding of liability for sexual assault. That context is often mentioned alongside this incident.
It really highlights the sacredness and seriousness surrounding the papacy and the conclave for Catholics.
Absolutely. The whole process, the death of a pope, the election,
Yeah.
it's steeped in tradition, solemnity. The secrecy of the conclave is specifically designed to keep outside influence out. There's even that old saying, he who enters the conclave a pope leaves it a cardinal.
Meaning the frontrunners often don't get it. It's an internal spiritual process.
Exactly. Not something usually treated lightly, especially not by world leaders, you'd think.
Trump's relationship with the Catholic Church has always seemed complicated.
Very much so. He attended Pope Francis's funeral, which was seen as respectful, but he also clashed publicly with Pope Francis, especially over immigration.
Yeah, I remember those exchanges.
Pope Francis was really trying to push the U.S. bishops towards focusing more on social justice, migrants, which often ran counter to Trump's policies.
But then Trump also appointed Brian Birch from Catholic Vote as his ambassador to the Holy See.
Right, suggesting an alignment with perhaps more conservative Catholic elements. It's complex, like you said.
And the platform matters too, right? Truth Social isn't exactly the New York Times.
Well, yes and no. He posts a lot there, attacks, praise, sometimes actual policy stuff. But this meme, because it was so provocative and then reposted by the White House, it broke out way beyond that platform.
Even though he'd shown reverence for Pope Francis's death just weeks before.
It's quite the shift in tone. And it happened around the same time he was making other comments, like questioning due process for immigrants, talking about leaving office, maybe give some insight into his current approach, perhaps. Though the Trump 2028 merge still exists.
So wrapping this up, what are the big takeaways here?
Well, I think it clearly shows a real point of friction between Trump and a significant part of the Catholic community. And the timing during this incredibly sensitive period for the church just amplifies everything.
Yeah, the reactions really ran the gamut.
Exactly. From deep offense and accusations of mockery, even blasphemy some might say, to defenses saying it's just humor or a political tactic or even praise. It reveals how differently his actions are interpreted.
And happening right before the conclave adds, well, it adds something. Interference, disruption. It's hard to say.
It definitely complicates the atmosphere around a process meant to be shielded from outside politics.
So maybe the provocative thought for you, our listeners, is this. Thinking about all these reactions, the timing, the digital nature of it, what does this incident tell us about how political figures and religious institutions interact now in this online age?
And maybe, how does something like this play out with different groups of voters? Does it alienate some? Does it energize others? Lots to think about there.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.